And welcome back to the By George from Page to Stage podcast. I am Matt Ogden. This man right here is Richard Sykes. And today, Rich, it is beautifully sunny. The pollen count is really high.
Yeah.
I'm going to sniff a lot throughout this podcast. So what we're going to talk about whilst I do that?
Now, the most important thing is what you're touching at the moment. It is your tea.
Yeah.
Matt always has coffee when he comes round. Today it is tea, which shows a new, healthy Matt Ogden. But it also exemplifies the changes we've got to announce in today's podcast.
And purely by accident as well. I definitely did not intend to come here and drink tea.
Don't tell him that. It's planned. It's planned.
Yeah.
The whole thing's planned.
I mean, I always planned to drink this lovely tea.
Didn't you consult the script for today's podcast?
Yeah,
I'm sure we're on page 3 by now.
From coffee to tea. Yeah. That's the episode.
I'll tell you quickly about the two major changes we've got to discuss today.
Spoiler alert.
Well, no, not really. One of our cast, which we put in a contingency for, was Sam. Sam is played by a younger actor. And Ben Malone came in, auditioned, and was superb. Also, Sam Roberts came in and this was the one decision, if you look back through the podcast, you'll see it, where we were 50-50. This could go either way.
Yeah.
Sam was an incredible auditioner, a superb presence on stage
and
as well.
And so young as well.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem like he's that young when he's on stage.
He's been experienced through Woodhouse for an awful long time and has done several shows which have been risque and revealing. This is nothing like that, but it still feels a little weird to be casting him in this role.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Ben had to drop out because he's got work in Cyprus for 8 months. No one's going to turn down that contract to do the musical. So with great dignity and forethought, Ben dropped out early so that Sam could do it. Sam was already going to be understudying Ben, but we thought, no, absolutely, let's give him the part. And we, on our last rehearsal, what we had was Sam just making sure Sam could get the notes and was sounded just right for the part, and he did. He was great. So I can't wait to see what his take on Sam is. That'll be really nice.
He's got that thing about him, hasn't he? Where, so I think the first time I met Sam was, and this is the confusing thing, with him being called Sam, it almost just felt fitting for him to be Sam.
The character is called Sam, he's called Sam.
You don't accidentally call him the wrong name. That's something, actually, before I say this story, that's something I did notice at the first scene.
I'm already calling everyone.
It was so funny. It was like, right, come here. You were saying to Jess, come here to do her bit. And she just called her Chloe straight away.
Nikki is Pauline now.
Massive smiles on their faces as well, because they loved it. Especially Jess. She's absolutely buzzing that she's Chloe. But I first met Sam when Woodhouse, when we did Joseph.
Which year was that?
That was...
Was that pre-pandemic?
Summer of 2018, when I was...
when you were young and vibrant.
When I had hair.
Oh.
And a massive beard that people thought was stuck on, but it wasn't. That was my actual beard you were tugging on. Anyway, first met Sam because he was one of the little chorus boys. He was like tiny, and now he, starting to tower above me like everybody does. And it's just crazy, like the amount of progress that you can make from just being some small part in a chorus to then suddenly everyone knows how good you are because they hear you sing in a concert, or they go see you in a junior show, or you just get that opportunity to be given a slightly bigger part. And I think that was the thing for me, was that seeing Sam in Priscilla, like you mentioned, he was very risque, and you know that because you were dancing in barely any clothes on stage next to him. But those key moments that he had in Priscilla, where he opened Act 2 with the kind of hoedown song.
He had a sort of solo at the beginning.
But before that, in Act 1, he'd been one of those performers.
A flashback performer.
Yeah, a flashback performer. And he had that line, the lucky you, that absolutely stole the show. Yeah. And the audience were in fits of laughter. And every single time we did that rehearsal, someone laughed at that.
He is the triple threat. Yeah. He can sing, act, and dance.
But so was Ben.
And that's why it was a 50-50 choice.
Yeah.
In the end, I think with Ben, a lot of it came down to age. He was a little older, and when you're on the cusp of being 18, either side it can make a difference. And I think that was the reason we went with Ben. But Sam will be fantastic.
Oh, he absolutely will.
I cannot wait to see him.
I think as well. What's interesting is we mentioned this. We mentioned this on the casting podcast. It sounds weird to say that.
Yes.
On the episode where we
Let's
focused
call it
on
the
the casting.
podcasting. Yes.
The podcasting. We mentioned the fact that obviously with you taking the role of George, it was just quite coincidental that Ben happened to have your wonderful curly locks.
Yeah.
But one thing I've kind of noticed.
Sam's very very Nicky.
Yeah,
he is.
Sam looks like he could very believably be Nicky's son.
Which is probably the right way round.
Definitely.
In the way the story runs, Sam has to become closer to Pauline, and it's far easier to get him closer to her in the looks and the way they're going to interact on stage as well. They have to kind of move in sequence and look related and relatable.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. But there are other key changes. It wasn't just that.
Oh, there's more.
Well, no. I mean, basically, the word key changes is quite right because...
no more casting changes.
No more casting. I hope
Not
more
this
casting
week.
changes. It makes for good podcasting, but in terms of casting, I'd rather it stayed as it is now. Just no more heartbreaks, please. There are key changes that we... At the end of the last rehearsal, one important process of the musical is making sure that the voices are correct.
Yeah.
You don't get a chance to do this in any other show. What's set is set.
Yeah.
But we went into the auditions knowing that we would have to tweak certain songs, bring keys down, bring keys up, so that it matched people's vocal patterns.
Yeah.
And we had a very, very quick sing-through of some of the problematic numbers that we thought would be problematic. On the last rehearsal.
Ones with the lower notes, the higher notes.
That's right, and just see where everyone's ranges were.
Yeah.
The other point is that a lot of the people in this production haven't been on stage for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And they were judging it on where their voices used to be, as opposed to where their voices sit now. Some are significantly lower and far richer as a consequence. I was mentioning to Niobe how much smoother her voice has got in the interim. And Nicky's done exactly the same, where it's really mellowed. And it's great to hear, but they can still get the top notes when they need to. Niobe was panicking over her songs being too high for her now.
Yeah.
They actually aren't. What she has done is favoured her lower register.
Yeah.
She can still get the top notes. And there may be a point where we stretch her slightly just to pull her up. If you're presenting a comedy number at full pelt, it can't be in your lower register. You'll notice we use this example often, Victoria Wood's Let's Do It. By the end, she's really at the top of her range. Let's do it tonight! Yeah. And it's why it works, because it increases the intensity of the song.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't do it. It wouldn't work in the same way if Victoria Wood was
do
let's
it
do it tonight.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work. So we've got to get that pitch exactly right for Niobe. And we will. But she brought it down because she was scared.
Yeah.
And we sung it through with her on the night, on the rehearsal night. And it should be back where it was. So my original instinct was perhaps right. We will see.
She's not got to sing that one inside the bin, has she?
She doesn't have to sing anything inside the bin. Nothing inside the bin. No.
Because that would be hard.
It would be very hard, especially in these temperatures that we're experiencing at the moment.
Could you imagine?
Well, it is September. I don't know how hot it's going to be, and it'll be.
With global warming, it'll probably boil.
Yeah, it'll probably be half nuclear threat as well. So, probably the safest place to be is in a bin. Anyway, but those are the other changes that came in as a consequence of the rehearsal. Did you enjoy the rehearsal?
I loved it. Well, everyone who watches the podcast will have seen. The last episode, hopefully, which was Rich by himself. Main reason for that is because apparently I just fail at saying no to things. So basically, I'd just come back, hadn't I, from a work event. I'd been down in Birmingham for 2 days.
Yeah, you look great.
And had like 3 hours sleep over the 2 days. And came straight to the rehearsal. you were kind of shocked to see me, and I went, no, let's do it. You can't co-host a podcast without being there. So yeah, my job was basically just be a fly on the wall, wasn't it? And just capture some B-roll and hopefully like just absorb what was going on.
Yeah. You weren't the only fly on the wall. Maria was there as well.
Yeah, I got some shots of Maria. Yeah. And then we also, of course, we had Lorraine as well, Lorraine Taylor.
Sandra Leake was there. David Clegg came up, the ticket guy we referenced before.
Yeah, with Pauline as well. So yeah, we had like a little bit of an audience, if you include me as well. And I think the thing that really like stood out to me was the fact that you obviously had like a few people kind of coming a little bit late. Like I know Ellie was technically working as well, so she was kind of there a little bit. Johnny arrived a little bit late because he'd probably been working late as a teacher. There was someone else, can't remember who it was.
There were a few people who came in a little late, but not too late.
But just everyone picking it up, and I love the fact that in the interval when we were sat there, you said to Kira, the musical director, you went, "Oh, you picked the hard one then?" And she thought you were saying, let's go for the actual finale.
We got cross purposes because I'd originally thought, let's ease everyone into the rehearsal because there was a thing where there's a song at the end which is sung nearly completely in unison. And I thought, oh, that's nice and jolly. That'll get everyone going, and so it'll ease everyone in.
And everyone feel a bit more confident.
Yeah, confident
going,
and comfortable. Easy. It's going to be a breeze of a rehearsal period. Now. What unfortunately Kira had picked up there was the word finale, and I'd probably said the wrong word. But instead Kira chose the pre-finale, which is a song called...
hardest song.
It is the hardest song. It's called "It's Your World," and it's... the hard thing about it is that everyone is singing in harmony.
Yeah.
There are 6 parts to it because you've got 2 leads and then soprano, alto, tenor, and baritone. So we were all in different groups, not used to who we were singing with, and also
there's a lot of musical chairs.
Singing at cross purposes as well. So someone sings and then a reaction. So there's 2 lines going on, 3 harmonies on each, and you're thinking, this is insane. But it's the finale of the show. But in Kira's mind, I'd told her to do it. I said, right, let's start with that because it's pretty much easy. So we laid into it and thought, but I couldn't believe it. They did it.
But I actually think that was a really good thing because you realised from it as well, like where the kind of challenges were.
Yeah, but if we can do that, there are no more challenges.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the hardest it's going to get.
Yeah,
I thought it would terrify people, but people were really focused on it and very excited by it.
I think as well though, like you said, because it's got all those harmonies, there's something for everyone to do.
Yeah,
and everyone's kind of paying attention straight from the get-go, because if you've got a song where you're all in unison, you just hear it once and you go, oh, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got to fit harmonies together, everyone could kind of hear where they were and you could see like the different kind of tonalities and things like that. And I think that finishing on an easier song was a nice way to kind of round things off, wasn't it?
Possibly.
But that's when Maria nearly cried.
It was pure accident. Oh, Maria's going to be blubbing through the whole thing. She said to me,
she was like, sat there, she was like, it's amazing to see this all coming together and it's so emotional, and I just instantly turned the camera on her and tried to get the reaction shot.
Oh, it's tough. I had an emotional moment after I'd left the rehearsal. During the rehearsal, my head was spinning and doing all these things like, we've got to change that, we've got to move that, and
you were very Spielberg.
I was hyper focused on that rehearsal, which was ludicrous.
Yeah.
Because I should know these parts. I'd written it 6 months ago and completely forgotten it, so I was having to learn the damn thing. But yeah, my head was spinning. And when Maria, myself, and Nikki walked back through the foyer at the end of the rehearsal, my knees turned to jelly.
No.
Oh yeah, I had the moment. But I'd had that moment before in the LBT when I did my first musical, and it came off after the first number. And it felt exactly the same, very, very parallel situation, where the stress had suddenly dissipated, and I thought, okay, we're comfy now. And it was the same thing. And so you kind of reserve the emotion of, oh, this is amazing, to happening afterwards. And it's how I deal with things anyway.
Yeah.
So a bit of dissociation, and it made my knees go, and it was genuinely very emotional coming out. It was great.
It was good. And you know what? I think
didn't they sound good together?
Yeah, I think there was, because we started with that difficult song as well.
But Kara made the point when we were doing it. that she could stop conducting. She stopped conducting because we'd got across, and she said, "Oh, no one's watching me because they're all watching the notes."
Yeah.
But then everyone sort of rectified and knew where they were in the piece with each other. The rarity of having that at a first
when
rehearsal.
it all came together.
There was a real amalgam,
and
the balance was good. I mean, it was superb. I couldn't believe how well it
I think the
went.
most annoying thing was I was filming the earlier bits, and then when it all came together, I was like, no, I've missed that bit, and I thought, that soundbite was beautiful.
It's going to be so hard to hit those moments exactly when everyone gets it right. Until, of course, the show week.
I'll just be a fly on the wall and just film everything.
Oh, well,
and then you'll have a hell of a job editing it. At which timestamp was the good bit? I don't know.
No, don't care. Just use the lot.
About an hour in.
We've hit a nice milestone at the moment in terms of ticket sales as well, because we haven't actually updated people on how
we need to get Cleggy
on
on for this.
We
I feel
should.
like he should reveal this.
We should.
Or we just get him to pop up, literally, so everyone who's listening to the podcast doesn't get it.
Yeah.
But on
It's
YouTube,
David Clegg watch time.
Da-da-da-da.
Yeah, that's right.
Posh Tuesday.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be so funny to soundbite that.
Well, David is extraordinary in that he's been a presence with the society for so many years. He's been there longer than I have. Multiple societies.
Yeah,
Everyone
gets
looks
around us,
upon
David.
him as the ticket guy because he's just essential. But yes, he came with great reports of the first day's ticket sales.
Yeah.
Were around 160, 162, which is great. That's
nuts.
Half a night. By the end of the first week, by the time we got to the first rehearsal, we'd pretty much sold out a night at a show. So we're about a fifth of the way to selling what we want to sell. So it's great. We need to keep pushing, of course.
We need to get in every fish and chip shop and get them all to come.
We will, and there are publicity pushes going to be going on throughout the summer. But it's a superb foundation to start with. I mean, there's an audience for all the days now, and it's sporadic throughout the whole week. But yeah, snap them up now, folks. Snap them up. Snap up those tickets because it's going to sell, which is great.
So I was trying to think of fish-related puns.
There are loads.
Well, you said snap, and I was like, snapper.
Snapper. Yeah, snap her up. Yeah. Oh, dear.
Yeah. Oh, it's so like reassuring as well because I've mentioned it before. I think the fact that with Huddersfield as a town now, you know, that you've seen a lot of businesses kind of move out. You've mentioned that statistic of fish and chip shops closing down. And in fact, I was in Altrincham last weekend. Not the one we've just had, the one before.
Okay.
And there was, and if you've ever been to Altrincham, it's like, you know, quite affluent, let's say. And there were shops everywhere, loads of independent shops, but there's also loads of like, you know, the chains and whatnot. And the one thing we noticed was a fish and chip shop that had closed down after, I think it was 12 years in business, something like that. And it just had to close. And I thought, it's becoming more and more prevalent, that sort of situation. And the big thing for me, especially with Huddersfield, is you know, there's this blueprint idea that the council have got, haven't they? And the George Hotel in town getting renovated and all that kind of stuff. And I think the fact that we've had COVID and we've had like financial recessions and things like that have really affected a lot of businesses, including the theatre. And as I've said before, you know, the fact that there's not parking accessible to that area makes it such a threat to the creative industry to be able to bring those audiences in, and so it's so reassuring to know that this show, which has no previous following, you know, it's not like a big one like I don't know, like a Miss Saigon or a Beauty and the Beast or one of those shows where it's got that established following for years,
name recognition,
and it's going to pull people in regardless of the situation. People will go out of their way. The fact that this is a Yorkshire fish and chip shop musical, I think is the pull. The fact that Yorkshire people are going, no, I've got to do my bit, and I want to see this because I've heard it'll be funny. And I think that's the thing is that, you know, if we can get a lot of people on board with that idea of you need to do this because this is representative of you, and you'll get something out of this, you'll enjoy it. And more importantly, we need fish and chip shops not to close. Because,
that's right. You mentioned the one in Altrincham.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah, gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
A note on the door.
Just a letter on the
Thank
door,
you for your
handwritten
business.
as well.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's the sign, isn't it?
It's a
where
real
the budget's
kicker,
gone.
isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'd be great to see fish and chip places have a bit of a resurgence after this show.
But it is one of the central points of the show is change and embracing change. But the personal cost of the change in market forces, it's evident in things like the fish and chip shops closing down. And the fact is failing to keep pace with costs and rising costs.
And people's tastes change as well, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, I said this when we saw that fish and chip shop. I was like, oh, you see, Richard's right. And then I said, but I think as well, what you'll find is that a lot of people's tastes change and a lot of people will move towards different trends and things like carveries, fish and chips, like those inherently classic British establishments. Sometimes they do have to pivot a little and go, oh, well, we can offer this as well. Or, oh, we can do this differently. And, you know, like gluten-free and all these dietary requirements coming in. That line's so funny. Salad at a fish and chip shop. To be fair, like if you're at a posh fish and chip restaurant,
they do them now.
They do a salad, they do all sorts. And, you know, like we talked about, I'd have like lemon juice, cracked black pepper, like all this fancy stuff that would get me called posh, but which happens anyway as it is because, you know, someone enunciates.
You and your accent.
Me and my non-regional, nondescript accent. But I think that's the thing, right, is that with a show like this, the beauty of having something that is all about resisting change whilst also accepting change shows that you can kind of do both.
Yes, I'd agree. You can have coffee and tea.
I regret it now. No, it is actually quite tasty to be fair.
There you go. It's nice to have a tea. Well, folks, just to round off the podcast, we've got to give our usual shout-outs to where you can buy tickets.
Yep.
You can get them at www.thelbt.org. You can keep downloading the podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast because it helps with the algorithms and so forth.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about the musical itself, if this is the first episode or the first time you've listened and watched and seen these two crazy faces, you can also go to richsykes.com where you can learn more about Rich's shows, upcoming projects, things like that. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, and basically just enjoy watching or listening to us be silly and funny.
That's right.
Talking about a Yorkshire fish and chip shop musical. Right, well, till next time, Rich.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Yep, catch you next time.
Cheers, guys. Bye.